Virgin Most Powerful Radio, sharing the gospel with clarity and charity.
I'm a soldier for Christ. I'm a soldier for Christ. I'm a soldier. No, they'll never take us under, because we're bringing truth like thunder. Raining on your speakers like a ton of bricks. Hold the cross high, cause we're Catholics. Fight the good fight with the truth. Stand tall with the truth. I'm a warrior for Christ. I'm in love with the truth. Love God, save souls, slay error. Go stronger. Go stronger.
Welcome to the Terry and Jesse show. I'm reporting for duty. Jesse will be here halfway through the show. He's doing another interview right now. And I like to say we're two evangelical Catholics with PhDs in common sense. And common sense is not that common. Today's show, I love it. You know why? It's going to be on religious freedom, okay? And our Protestant brothers, the Grace Community Church, defies and sues California for unreasonable COVID restrictions. Finally, somebody sued him, and we'll find out what happened there. Also, our very own Bishop Joseph Strickland of Tyler, Texas, who we have a show on every Tuesday, he warns the faithful to be awake to an anti-Catholic Kamala Harris. And that's going to be an interesting show where the bishop is warning us to be careful of that. And we'll talk more about that also. And something very special across the pond in France. Are you aware that over 1,000 churches have been under constant attack in France, and nobody wants to admit the reason? We're going to tell you the reason why these churches in France are being torched, and it's not going to be known in the public eyes because nobody wants to talk about that. And so it's going to be a very fascinating show today. Jesse will be here halfway through, but I want to give our soul food because that's the best thing we can give you, the gospel of Jesus Christ. And in today's reading is from Matthew 19, verse 16 to 22. A young man approached Jesus and said, "Teacher, what good must I do to gain eternal life?" He answered him, "Why do you ask me about the good? There is only one who is good. If you wish to enter into life, keep the commandments." He asked him, "Which ones?" And Jesus replied, "You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. Honor your father and your mother. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Now the young man said to him, "All of these I've observed. What do I still lack?" Jesus said to him, "If you wish to be perfect, go and sell what you have, give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me." When the young man heard this statement, he went away sad, for he had many possessions. The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. You know, that reading made me really jump today at Mass. And Father Steve, our wonderful priest at St. Joseph's Church in Pomona, he had a great comment. He said, all of us have got this issue with having situations where our attachments are too much to material things. He called it souvenirs from hell. What? I said, "Father, I got to write that down. That's powerful." We all have souvenirs from hell. Yes. The things that we're attached to in this world, we have to get rid of. And why do I say that? Well, today, one of our employees here at Virgin Most Powerful just got word over the weekend that he's been accepted to go to Mother Teresa's order to be formed as a priest in Mother Teresa's order. And this is a young man that I've had on the radio. I want you to pray for him because I read this reading to him, and that's what he's doing. He's giving it all up, and he's been on the other side. He spent 15 years in prison, okay? So he knows what bad life, living is bad, how it is. And now he was converted in prison through, are you ready for this? A number of things, but cassette tapes of Scott Hahn, Fulton Sheen. And this is just one of many who are giving their lives to Christ. And you know what's interesting? over the last 41 years. I've got a gentleman back in the 80s who's now a monk. Are you ready for a Carthusian monk? He used to duplicate cassette tapes in the 1983, 84, and now he's Father Superior. A number of people who have worked with us in these 41 years are now priests. And I thank God for that. Why? Because they get good formation. That's the key. And this young man who's leaving September 1st to go become a priest for Mother Teresa's order did the very same thing. He'd been forming himself in prison, listening to Sheen, listening to Han, and thank God he's going. So this scripture verse is very powerful when it comes to, as Father Steve said, our attachments to this material things of this world. He calls it the souvenirs of hell. So it really made me think about what are my souvenirs from hell that I have to get rid of. So keep that in mind today. Let's bring the smartest guy into the room, which is Fulton Sheen. And he's powerful. He says about a loss of belief. Do we have a loss of belief in the world today? Yes. Sheen said this 50, 60, 80 years ago. He says, have you ever noticed that a man ceases to believe in God, he also ceases to believe in man? Have you observed that? Absolutely. If you have worked for or with a person of deep faith in Christ, you have always been treated with gentleness, equality, and charity. You could not point to a single person who truly loves God and is mean to his fellow man. Have you noticed that as men lose faith in God, they become selfish, immoral, and cruel? Look around us right now, folks. There's been a loss of belief in God, and look at the riots. Look what's going on. They become selfish, immoral, and cruel. On a cosmic scale, Bishop Sheen says, as religion decreases like it's doing now, Bishop Sheen says tyranny increases. Yes, he's right. As men lose their faith into divinity, they lose faith in humanity. And this last statement is where the cash value is. Where God is outlawed, there man is subjugated. Bishop Sheen, you nailed it again and again. And that's why we call it Saint Bishop Sheen. Why? Because he's a saint. And you know, in the old days, before there was a canonization process, guess how the saints were made saints? By the public, by people just assuming this guy's a saint. He is Saint Fulton J. Sheen. And I believe that someday, I might not see it, but his canonization will take place. I also want to remind everybody what St. Catherine of Siena said. This is a tweet from Bishop Joseph Strickland. He'll be on tomorrow after the Terry and Jesse show. The saint said this, and see if this applies to us. So many of the saints have so much beauty to teach us today, and I think that we've had amnesia. We're thinking, oh, we got to be modern, we got to be hip. Get out of here. Let's go back to the fathers of the church. Let's go to the saints. Here's what this saint said. St. Catherine of Siena, which was August 16th on her feast. We've had enough exhortations to be silent. This saint says, cry out with 100,000 tongues. She says, I see that the world is rotten because of silence. St. Catherine of Siena, she is spot on again. And it's because good people do nothing. That's when evil abounds. That is the problem. And you know what's so interesting? So many saints throughout the centuries have said all this. We have a great pope back in the 4th century. He said, not to oppose error is to approve it. Not to defend truth is to suppress it. And indeed, to neglect to confound evil men when you can do it is no less a sin than to encourage them. You see, it's called sins of omission when we don't stand up for the truth. And I'm going to quote Bishop Barron again. He says it's a sign of a corrupt church that stops thinking deeply about the truths of Christianity. A church that is against being precise about its teaching is a corrupt church. He's right on. He's spot on. Bishop Barron is spot on that. We have to be more precise. Also, I want to remind everybody, we've got a 4-part debate coming up. We're going to resurrect Father Benedict Rochelle from the grave. Everybody knows him. Do you know Scott Hahn, Father Mitch Pacwa? How would you like to have that heavy-hitting lineup to debate 4 Protestant ministers? Well, that's what we did with this ultimate challenge. This was done in the 1990s. I sent a whole crew out to Texas to record it. And we're going to play it on September 12th on a YouTube channel for everybody to see this debate. It's going to be an all-day debate. A voice from the grave comes back to defend Holy Mother, the Church, Father Benedict Rochelle. Put it on your calendar, September 12th, 2020. We're going to have this is the greatest debate. I've been involved with debates for 45 years. I've been going to them. This is going to be a good one. You'll want to check it out on the 12th of September. Also, when we come back, we're going to talk about religious freedom and how important is religious freedom today. And how is St. Catherine of Siena bringing out when she says, cry out with 100,000 tongues. I see that the world is rotten because of silence. Are we too silent as a church right now for our rights? Are we bringing scandal because of that? I'm going to have to say yes. It's time to speak up in truth and charity. Would you agree? I think so. And you're going to get it right here on Virgin Most Powerful Radio. And we've got to talk about the St. Thomas More Society doing some ecumenical power work with Grace Community Church in California, defending them from the state of California, because what the state is doing, from what this lawsuit says, you can't be doing this. You're superseding your authority. And we've got Christians, our fellow Protestants, standing up to the state and saying, I will obey God rather than man. Maybe we can learn something from I know we can. As Catholics, when are we going to stand up and follow this example? Well, when we come back, we're going to give you all the nuts and bolts on it. And I hope it inspires Holy Mother, the Church, to say, wait a minute, we got to stand up for Jesus. That's what I'm hoping for. You're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show. Jess will be here in about another 15, 20 minutes. And I just want to thank all of you who listen to us. We're two evangelical Catholics with PhDs in common sense. And let's face it, common sense ain't that common. We'll be right back. Help the Helpless, a Minnesota St. Paul nonprofit organization chaired by Father of Tyr and volunteers, is humbly asking you for your kind support to help the poor and the handicapped children in India and Ecuador. Through financial support from the Help of the Helpless benefactors, the children are provided with clothing, food, education, shelter, and the teachings of the Catholic Church. The mission is to help children thrive and become self-sufficient young adults leading productive lives. We also provide aid to poor families in Ecuador with food baskets, medicines, medical assistance, and help with funeral needs for the deceased. The work in India is done by Father Antonio's organization, St. Mary's. In Ecuador, the work is being done by the Servant Sisters of the Home of Mother. You can call us at 877-762-8857. To learn more, please visit our website, www.helpthehelpless.org. God bless you. This is Terry Barber. I want to thank you for your support here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Here's an easy way to do it. If you're going to sell or buy a house, call Real Estate for Life, 877-543-3871, because they're going to get you a Christ-centered agent to purchase your home or to sell your home. And at the close of escrow, a portion of his commission goes right back to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Call 877-543-3871. Thank you so much for your support.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. To join the conversation, call 888-526-2151. Now, here's Terry and Jesse.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. Jess will be back just in another segment. He's doing an interview on his book, so he'll be right here. You know, I talked a little bit about religious freedom, that we need to stand up for Jesus moment. Well, our Protestant brothers, I'll give you one example. The Calvary Chapel in Newbury Park had an interesting article in LifeSite News, how they're defying the city restraining order about having their church service, and fortunately the judge agreed, and they're going to go to court again September 6th, but they're actually having their churches, their services indoors, unlike all the rest of us, so maybe they can be an example. But this is a story about grace. The other Protestant churches, they're standing up. They're not taking it sitting down. And this is my big point when I bring it up. We need to push back. Come on. If we can't push back for our faith, what can we do? Sit down and watch, I Love Lucy movies or our shows again. I mean, we've got to stand up. So Grace Community Church defies and sues California. We've been saying that for a long time. Who's going to sue the state for unreasonable COVID restrictions? But the St. Thomas More Society, which is a Catholic organization, I asked them to defend us also already. But they decided to go to court and file a lawsuit against the state, against the governor, and God bless them for doing that. So that's what they did. And the suit seeks to prohibit California from enforcing the unconstitutional coronavirus pandemic regulations against the church. We all want that. And seeks a judgment, okay? So the complaint states that the American people have begun to see that they are being cheated by their own government. What? We've been saying that for a long time. They have witnessed how the erroneous restrictions imposed on them by public officials to allegedly fight COVID-19 pandemic simply do not apply to certain favored groups. You see how it's discriminatory? You'll see. When many went to the streets to engage in political protests against racism and police brutality, now these protesters refused to comply with the pandemic restrictions. And check this out, everybody. The court says, in this case, instead of enforcing the public health orders, public officials were all too eager to grant an exception for these favored protesters. Do you see the discriminatory reactions? Decides on what side of the fence you're on. Having this damaged confidence to Americans, Californians especially, who now realize the pandemic restrictions, are you ready for this, are neither necessary or good. On Sunday, July 26, 2020, the Grace Community Church decided to resume their worship services, joining millions of Americans in deciding that enough is enough. You see, they're pushing the envelope. With deaths from the COVID-19 suicide pandemic exceeding those from actual coronavirus pandemic, Grace Community Church decided that it would no longer sit by and watch as their children suffer from the absence of religious worship and instruction. God bless them. Perhaps surprisingly, perhaps not, this led the County of Los Angeles to submit a demand letter to Grace Community Church, here it comes, ordering them to comply with the restrictions that Los Angeles County deemed necessary to enforce against so many others. But you know what? The church said, I'm going to obey God rather than man. Now, this takes guts. I give him credit. According to the attorneys in the church, he says, it's time, California, to recognize Christians are not second-class citizens. Amen to that. And the court must step in to do its job protecting the U.S. and the California state constitution provided to every individual, equality to churches in particular. See, we're not second-class citizens. Now, this Pastor McCarthy, he opened the church Sunday morning service for August 9th, welcoming worshipers to the church. He was met with a standing ovation and extended applause from the congregation. Can you imagine? I'm just going to be honest. If my bishop went into the church and said, we're going to pray, we're going to do our worship of God, we're going to obey God more than man, oh, I would be shouting. I would be so happy, praising God. Now, he said, we're simply going to continue to do what we've done for 63 years, I can say we're going to continue to do what we've been doing for 2,000 years, brother. The Grace community has been open to welcome Los Angeles community and serve their spiritual needs. We will remain open and teach the gospel of Jesus Christ to all who decide they want to come and worship with them. Free will. You don't have to go. I love it. Ellis said, we hope that Los Angeles County would see its own error, but after attempting negotiations with the council, California is still intent on targeting churches. That's it. I'm in California. I see it. Pastor McCarthy and the Board of Elders, they said, will stand firm, God bless them, and their leadership to resolve the church is essential. If the church ain't essential, what is? Come on. California has no legitimate power to enforce such unconstitutional restrictions against the fundamentally protected right to freely participate in church. First Amendment, man. But we have to exercise it. California's saying that we're saying this isn't about health. It's about targeting churches. That's what we're saying. They're targeting the churches. Why can you go to Walmart? Why can you go and buy marijuana, but you can't go and make a visit to the Blessed Sacrament? You can't have your worship? Something wrong with that. It's unconstitutional for Governor Newsom and the state of California to discriminate against churches by treating them less favorably than other organizations. That's the bottom line, folks. And Pastor MacArthur and his church, as well as all churches, all of us here, are entitled to practice their religion without government interference. I'll repeat that. That is so important. All of us are entitled to practice their religion without government interference. Look what they did in Poland, man, during the war. I mean, the communists, this is not good to stop us from our worship of God. So he's entitled to practice their religion without government interference. This is especially the case when the government has given free rein to protesters, what I said before, to letting marijuana dispensaries go open, large retail outstores. Abortion mills are open, but we can't go to church. Is this microphone on? Come on, something's wrong here. The government's orders are unconstitutional, he said, because there's no compelling need for these restrictions on the churches. The hospitals are not overwhelmed. The percentage of the death rate for COVID-19 is extremely small. We had a 99.7% survive. Why are they doing this? That's got to be political. I mean, give me a break. It's time, he said, for Governor Newsom and for Mayor Goretti to recognize what President Trump has already proclaimed. Churches are providing an essential service to the people. Therefore, they must be allowed to serve the people in a manner which God has called them. Think about that. We've got the President of the United States telling them, this is essential, churches. And you've got governors saying, no, not as I see it. So this can all be read online, and you can read about it yourself. But the biggest point I'm making is we need to stand up for our religious rights. Right now, I'm going to be honest with you. We have a funeral in our chapel. Right now. That funeral is serving God's people to bury the dead. It's called the Corporal Works of Mercy. Are we going to stop that because the government says we can't have funerals? I don't know. I'm just saying, folks, you're listening to me on the East Coast saying, well, we were doing it. Well, out here in California, we're being persecuted because of our faith. And this is the time. We've got that 54-day novena going everybody knows about. We got to pray, pray, and pray. And that's why here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio, we're standing up and saying, the emperor has no clothes. Yeah, we're saying we need to say, we're going to stand up for Jesus, and we're going to bring about the truth of the gospel. And if the government says to us, you can't do this, well, I've been arrested at abortion clinics 30 years ago for standing up for the unborn, and they said, you can't do that, and they threw me in the slammer. I survived it. And I've looked at it this way. I'm an old guy now. If I have to go back to jail to stand up for Jesus, you think there'll be enough evidence to convince our Lord that I followed him and my reward will be eternity, heaven? See, life is short. Eternity is forever. And I just think that sometimes we're looking on the short scale. Sometimes our churches are looking at, I want you to be healthy. I want good health. I'm probably in pretty good health for a 63-year-old guy. I can still walk and do push-ups and pull-ups. But you know what I want more than my health? I want my soul to be in the state of grace when I die. And I think that's what our message is. Stop worrying so much about the physical health and not enough about the supernatural health. And I think our Protestant brothers just gave us an example of an ecumenical level where they said, hey, Catholics, stand up for Jesus. Join us. I mean, yeah, we might be persecuted, but you know what? Look at the 2,000-year history. You guys got a lot of guys that have been persecuted. Why stop now? And I thought, that's a good question to ask. Why are we not handling this like we used to in the old days, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago? You know what I think? Is what Bishop Sheen said. St. Bishop Sheen. He said our fires have gone out. We need to ignite our fires to be fired up to say, if it means standing up for the gospel and being persecuted with our very lives, we have to do that. Now you say, well, wait a minute, Terry. That was in the old days. Really? We just celebrated St. Maximilian Kolbe's feast day on the 14th of August. He gave his life up for a gentleman who had a wife and family in the concentration camp, and he was one of the 10 men that went in to have starvation bunker to die. Not only did he stand up for that man, I met that man. I let him hold my daughter. That's how impressed. So I've met people like that. I've met people who have been persecuted. I've met Chinese priests who have marks on their arms like cattle because they wouldn't succumb to the patriotic church of China. See, there are people who stand up for Jesus moments, and I want to be that. I want you to be that because you know what? Those who are lukewarm, the Bible says, will spit you out. But we need to light our fires. And how do we light our fires? By staying close to Jesus and the Blessed Sacrament, by going to confession, by our prayer life, by living in the presence of God. That's how we're going to do this. But we can't, if we're living in the presence of our TV or our alcohol or our drugs, that's just going to postpone things. And the outcome is very, very bad. There's a song they sing in hell. I did it my way. And there's a song we sing in heaven. I did it his way. I want you to sing that song by doing it God's way and standing up for Jesus. Remember, St. Catherine of Siena said, we've had enough exhortations to be silent. People telling us, don't say anything. If they're knocking our statues down, just don't say anything. You might get them upset. The bully might want to do more harm. Well, that's not what St. Catherine says. She said, cry out with 100,000 tongues. I see that the world is rotten because of silence. I agree, St. Catherine of Siena. It's the Terry and Jesse Show. What are we? We're two evangelicals with PhDs in common sense. We come back, we're going to talk about one of our great bishops, Bishop Joseph Strickland, who does a show on Virgin Most Powerful. He's warned us about the politics that are coming up. We'll be right back with much more, and Jesse will be back also. Don't turn that dial.
Hi, this is Jesse Romero from the Terry and Jesse Show, also from Jesus 911. Let's face it, we all need to use the internet, but we need screen accountability. Why? Pornography is a huge problem, especially on the internet. And every time we tap into the internet, we get bombarded with images and temptations that degrade our humanity. So we need Covenant Eye to block these pornographic sites and advertisements from infiltrating our lives. Covenant Eyes helps us take custody of our eyes and custody of our intellect. So I recommend you go to covenanteyes.com and type in the promo code VMPR to support the network. Protect yourself and your family from the imminent threats on the internet. www.covenanteyes.com, code VMPR, live porn free. Thank you for listening to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Thank you. God bless you. Keep the faith.
This is Terry Barber. I want to thank you for supporting Virgin Most Powerful Radio. And here's an easy way to support us by going to smile.amazon.com and type in Catholic Resource Center or Virgin Most Powerful Radio. And when you log in your Amazon account and you purchase products, a portion of it will go right back in supporting Virgin Most Powerful Radio. And it doesn't cost you a dime. I want to thank you ahead of time because that supports us year-round. May God bless you and your family. This is Terry Barber. I want to thank you for your support here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Here's an easy way to do it. If you're going to sell or buy a house, call Real Estate for Life, 877-543-3871, because they're going to get you a Christ-centered agent to purchase your home or to sell your home. And at the close of escrow, a portion of his commission goes right back to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Call 877-543-3871. Thank you so much for your support.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. To join the conversation, call 888-526-2151. Now, here's Terry and Jesse.
Welcome back. Jesse Romero's back. I told you he was here. Jess, tell us what you were doing, and then let's get into the topic, brother. They always want to know when you're gone.
Yeah, Terry, it's that book that I wrote, The Catholic Vote for Trump. I get still called different stations to do. I was just on Guadalupe Radio Network on all their stations in
Excellent.
Texas. Yeah.
Good job,
By
Jess.
the way, they carry the Bishop Strickland show.
They do. And, talking about Bishop Strickland, Jess, that's what we're, U.S. Bishop Strickland warns the faith. What is the bishop warning, Jesse? Because it's political, but I'm just glad we have a bishop who's willing to take it on the chin.
Amen. Well, this bishop is a godsend. Terry, Bishop Joseph Strickland of Tyler, Texas. Boy, it makes me feel like moving over there because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
He's 61, Terry.
Yep.
He's going to be around for 14 more years.
That's
though.
right.
If you move to California, Terry, I'm just
that's where I should go.
Yeah, that's
already,
where I would go.
Yeah, we're buddies right
now. He'll end up burying you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. He's 61, so he's gonna be around a long time.
Yep.
And he's not gonna get promoted, Terry. The stuff that he's saying.
No, he'll never. He's
done. That's where he's gonna stay till he retires.
Unless he gets removed. But let's keep going.
Yeah. Okay.
You never know.
So, Bishop Joseph Strickland, he sent out a tweet suggesting that Joe Biden's running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, reminds him of former Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, who famously called conservatives deplorables at the height of her 2016 campaign.
That's right.
Here's what he tweeted, quote, "Catholics take note. She reminds me of another candidate calling us the deplorables. We need to be awake to this. Kamala's anti-Catholic anti-Catholic assault previews her potential administration." This is what he tweeted out. This stalwart defender of human life, this protector of the Catholic Church, this Texas bishop from Tyler, Texas, he's calling our attention to an article that was published in The Federalist.
Yep, I'm familiar with
that.
it.
Article is titled, quote, "Kamala Harris's anti-Catholic assault previews what would happen in her administration."
Oh,
and I just want to add one thing in my comments.
Go ahead.
If they would win, please God they don't.
I hope, please God.
I don't think Joe Biden has the physical capability or intellectual or mental to last 4 years.
No,
and so what this would mean, Terry, is if that ticket won, within the next 4 years, she would end up slipping in as the president of the United States. And I'm telling you, Terry,
that's trouble.
I believe she's worse than Hillary Clinton.
I would agree with you. The facts show it. The facts show it.
Look, she's worse
that's right.
on Catholics than Hillary Clinton. Look what the article says, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's the article in The Federalist says, quote, "Vice President Joe Biden has just picked as his running mate Senator Kamala Harris, Democrat from California. A woman who believes Catholicism is an extreme set of views that should disqualify someone from public office."
That's just the facts.
Yeah, that's what was written in The Federalist. And here's how they substantiate this well-founded claim. So people are saying, "Oh, come on, that's fake news." No. Here's what The Federalist says. Kamala Harris has demonstrated shocking anti-Catholic bigotry in the confirmation hearings of Judge Brian Boucher.
Yep, remember that.
So let's recount what happened here
Yep.
with in these hearings. Kamala Harris cited his membership in the all-male society, the Knights of Columbus.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's, wow, radical group.
Yeah.
The Knights of Columbus and its stances against abortion and same-sex marriage as grounds for rejecting Brian Boucher for a federal district court in Nebraska.
Just the facts.
Did you catch that, Knights?
Yep.
So, the guys that make pancakes after Sunday Mass and try to raise money, for the local pregnancy crisis center in their city, we are now a radical all-male society. The Federalist says this as well. Mrs. Harris's embrace of religious intolerance is specifically significant. In 2 years, she could be the next U.S. president. The Wall Street Journal's editorial board at the time wrote this. What does it say about today's Democrats that no one in the party of Al Smith and John F. Kennedy sees fit to rebuke her? Terry, here's my comment.
Yeah, give me your comment, Jess.
I remember we had a conversation when this was like 25, 30 years ago. My dad, my brothers and my sister, my mom and dad were Sunday after Mass. I'm like 25, 26 years old. And my dad, we were talking, and one of my brothers asked my father, hey, Dad, why are we Democrats? And I just chimed in. I said, wow, that's a good question. Mm-hmm. Okay, my older brother Henry asked. He's like 28 at the time. And my dad said, well, because, I was told that they're the party of the poor. I'm a laborer. I'm a blue-collar laborer. I'm a union worker. And, blue-collar, that's the party of the blue-collar labor union, poor person. That's why, and everybody in the family told me that when they came from Mexico, that's the party of the little guy, the poor people. Now, I was already starting to red pill at that moment because I'm already starting to read stuff on my own. I said, Dad, I'm not sure that's completely true. I said, I think we've been fooled. My dad put me on assignment. So I'm like 26, 27. My dad says, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I'm your father. We're all around the table, 5 of us, and my mom, 6. He goes, I don't really know why we're Democrats. I was just told that this is the party that, of the poor, and I just basically followed along without questioning. So my dad looked at me. He goes, you're Junior, because my dad's Jesus. I'm Jesus Junior. He says, I'm going to put you on assignment. Why don't you, I'm going to put you, since you're asking a lot more questions than Henry, he says, why don't you find out why we're Democrats, why Hispanic Catholics are, I don't know why. He says, I'm your father. I'm going to put you on assignment. I said, all right, Dad, no problem. Terry, I spent the next probably 3 to 5 years reading, putting notes together, putting notes together, putting notes together. And I came up with a file that I ended up calling Knocked Off the Donkey.
That's in the book, your book.
Yeah. So my wife, I had that in my computer for like years, and I would send it to people. My wife finally said one day, why don't you just self-publish that book? I know nobody's probably going to want to pick it up, but you've amassed and that's what I did. And guess what, Terry? As a result of giving my brothers and my mom and dad all the arguments that I compiled in that book, Knocked Off the Donkey, the whole family switched.
I can believe it.
We all switched. And I actually switched an entire parish in the city of San Fernando because I gave weekend lectures, and they all wanted to know, why are we Democrats? I had like 1,000 Hispanic Catholics in the parish in Spanish, and I gave a week, and the pastor allowed it as to explain to them the difference between both parties, our obligation to vote, our civic responsibility. And so all I'm just saying is this, Terry. The Democrat Party is no longer the party of John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Scoop Jackson, President Hubert Humphrey, this or President Thomas Jefferson.
Right.
This party is now a morally bankrupt party.
Jesse, I can't tell people how to vote, but let's just get really with the facts. If you voted for Biden and Harris, it's really a vote for child abuse, okay? And why do I say that? Because they're all for, the drugs that you can use with, puberty blockers, the surgery. They're all for that drag queen stories, transgender speech, abortion. These are just the facts. You make the judgment.
Transgender bathrooms.
Yeah, all that. That's what we get when you vote for them. In short,
defund the police.
Yes, it's an all-out assault on the youngest in our society. and the marginalization and persecution of parents and other adults who come to their defense. You make the decision. It's just not anti-Catholic bigotry. Jesse, she believes that no one should be allowed to be appointed to the court or any administrative government post who's ever belonged to a religious institution. Really? Organization, club, school, denomination that views, here it comes, if you view abortion as wrong, homosexual practices as sinful, transgenderism is sin, then she says, you're not qualified. So how can any Christian, this is just a question, I'm not telling you to vote, but how can any Christian vote for a person or even fail to cast an effective vote to stop someone from promoting this? Now that's your decision. Now, I'm saying Bishop Strickland's saying we have 85 days before the election. He says this, Bishop Joseph Strickland, not Terry Barber or Jesse Romero, he says, please pray for hearts to turn to God and choose candidates. You notice he's not saying who to choose. I didn't say who. Candidates who promote this. Ask yourself, they promote the sanctity of life, the Christian moral code, the sanctity of marriage and family, parental choice for educating their children, and uphold basic freedoms for every person. When you're informed on what that candidate's going to place your vote for that person, that's what the bishop is saying, Jess.
Terry, it's pretty clear right at this
just the
point.
Facts.
And I'll give you how clear it was. On Thursdays, me and my wife, we go to these rallies here in Phoenix, Arizona. Mm-hmm. And probably about 200 people show up. It's generally, and patriots, people that are supporting the police. It's called Blue Lives Rally. Mm-hmm. And we're supporting the police. We don't want the police to be defunded in the state of Arizona. Yeah. And by the way, Terry, all of us, there's Catholics, Protestants, people of goodwill.
Oh, yeah.
On our side, we're holding, very positive banners, Blue Lives Matters and vote pro-life. And we're singing, Terry. We're singing.
Beautiful.
Songs like God Bless America.
I love it.
Land that I love.
Yeah.
On the other side of the street is Black Lives Matter and Antifa. For the entire 2 hours that we're singing, they are saying bad words.
You can't tell them what the song they sang. It would be off the air. Yeah, you got it. Go ahead.
Let's just say they're a little bit off key.
Yeah.
And nice. So the point that I'm making, Terry, if the battle lines are very, very
absolutely
clear.
You bet it.
Yeah, you can't.
That's right.
You can't get any clearer. Terry, one more thing I want to mention about Kamala Harris, who's the VP pick.
Yeah, just a fix.
As if there's a lot of pro-life leaders that are sounding the alarm on her extremist positions. For example, David Daleiden, he's the head of the Pro-Life Investigative Group Center for Medical Progress.
Oh, I love what he said.
He wrote, he knows firsthand the experience. He considers Kamala Harris, quote, the greatest threat to the First Amendment civil rights our country has ever seen. Yep.
Well said. Up next, French church under constant attack and nobody wants to admit the real reason. We'll admit the reason here on the Terry and Jesse Show when we come back. Don't turn that dial.
Jesus said to the apostles in Luke chapter 10, "Whoever listens to you listens to me, and whoever rejects you rejects me." According to St. Boniface, in her voyage across the ocean of this world, the church is like a great ship being pounded by the waves of life's different stresses. Our duty is not to abandon ship, but to keep her on course. May our Lord help us remain ever faithful to His church, to aid and defend her.
How does the baby move in your tummy? How does the baby eat? Can the baby hear me? How did the baby get in there?
Wow, a pregnancy can sure generate a lot of questions. But what's important is that a baby is a baby, inside and out of the womb, not just after birth, but 9 months before. at conception.
That's right. Every baby is a miracle. Hello, my name is Marianne Koharski. I'm the director of Pro-Life Across America. If you know someone who is pregnant or in need of alternatives or assistance or would like to support the work of Pro-Life Across America, please visit our website at prolifeacrossamerica.org, or better yet, simply dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say the keyword pro-life. Pro-Life Across America is non-political and totally educational.
A baby's heart is beating 18 days from conception.
Pro-life across America, the Billboard people.
This is Terry Barber. I want to thank you for your support here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Here's an easy way to do it. If you're going to sell or buy a house, call Real Estate for Life, 877-543-3871, because they're going to get you a Christ-centered agent to purchase your home or to sell your home. And at the close of escrow, a portion of his commission goes right back to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Call 877-543-3871. Thank you so much for your support.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. To join the conversation, call 888-526-2151. Now, here's Terry and Jesse.
Reporting for duty, sir.
Amen, brother.
Hey, we got Terry
This is an interesting article by Joseph Shaw. Yeah, good man.
French churches are under constant attack, and nobody wants to admit the real reason.
Yep.
I wonder if it's Mormons attacking the Catholic Church.
It's political correctness is what.
Maybe it's the Quakers,
No,
Terry.
I don't think so, Jess. You're getting...
Here's what the article says. A Rwandan refugee, I wonder if he's a Quaker or a Mormon.
I don't think so.
A Rwandan refugee, could he be a Muslim? Who had been employed as a caretaker has confessed to starting the July fire at Nantes Cathedral for reasons that remain obscure. The causes of the terrible 2019 fire that severely damaged Notre Dame in Paris may never be known. Fires can start for all kinds of reasons, but there is sadly a pattern of Catholic churches in France being deliberately burned down by people with a hatred for the Catholic Church and our faith. There are indeed about 1,000 attacks a year. And guess what? You never know it.
Nope.
Because it's the mainstream media.
Yep.
They don't care. It's not important.
Right.
But if one Muslim mosque was burned down by a Catholic caretaker, it would be on the news 24 hours a day for the next 30 days in a row.
That's a fact.
The British weekly, The Tablet, reported the following, quote, "Something is happening in French society that's long been neglected but is becoming evident with these fires. The country's becoming de-Christianized, and there are people who wish, for whatever reason, to vandalize and destroy Christian symbols. The long-held strategy of keeping this under wraps simply does not work," close quote. The Justice and Peace movement is not normally associated with wild claims about culture wars, and as an advisor to the Commission of Bishops Conference of the European Community, Stefan Lunt, who is the Secretary General of Justice and Peace in Europe, Stefan Lunt must be familiar with the safe and stodgy institutional mainstream of the Catholic Church in Europe. And he's clearly fed up with it.
Well, here comes Jesse. Let me jump in because this is right up your alley on spiritual warfare. Go ahead and share with them about an interview with a German Catholic radio station.
So this is Stefan Lunt, who's the Secretary General of the Justice and Peace Society of Europe. Terry, he's basically red-pilled.
Yep.
Okay, I'm done with plain political correctness. Stefan Lunt, in an interview with a German Catholic radio station, he said the following, quote, "There are satanic cults here in France, as well as very extreme anarchist and libertarian groups, people often quite unstable psychologically. Perhaps he thought for diplomacy, not to mention individuals and groups inspired by some version of Islam. But clearly, they're also playing a part in this, both in France and internationally." And it's interesting. These are the same people that hate President Trump and Vice President Penn. the same people.
Yep.
Satanists here have an organized cursing liturgical session against Trump every single month. The witches have also organized liturgical cursing and hexing sessions against Trump and his administration. You have the anarchists in the street, these libertarian anarchists,
That's right.
Black Lives Matter and Antifa, also saying that they are mandating the removal of President Trump and defunding the police. And obviously, just like the article says, all these people are unstable psychologically. Then the article mentions that also some people that are attacking the churches in France are part of some version of Islam, obviously some version of terroristic Islam. Well, these are the same people that hate Trump. Muslim terrorists also hate Trump. He's got the same enemies, Terry, that the Catholic Church has.
Well, Jesse, let me jump in and say, yeah, show me your friends or show me your enemies, and I'll tell you who you are. But just one aspect of this that the churches can be difficult to make secure, but more important is the church's reaction. This is what I think is sad. The church's reaction, keeping this under wraps. The reaction of bishops and Catholic commentators to these attacks are constantly been played down, will play them down, and to ignore them as a pattern, something that secular media are only too happy to help them do. In other words, Jesse, you got a bully, and nobody wants to confront the bully. They just want to say, well, look the other way. Don't make too much of it. Terrorists of all kinds want to make a point and are no doubt pleased when the media and the churches play it down. However, these atrocities also create a reaction, often undermining sympathy for their causes and generating it for their victims. This is a game the victims of the injustice can win. As things are, these constant attacks on churches are clearly not being discouraged by the doormat attitude. On the contrary, Jess, the perpetrators are encouraged in their project of destroying the dignity and prestige of these beautiful historical churches that have a historical Catholic countries like France. These attacks, and I'll give it back to you, these attacks are so frequent now that a few French Catholics can have failed to notice them happening locally, and the media silence around them powerfully sends out a message that no one cares, not even if it would appear as the bishops. That's the sad thing, Jess. Nobody wants to push back.
Yeah, Terry, this is
Sad.
This is what we call just weak, feckless leadership.
Yeah. But read what Matt, I like the last paragraph, Jess.
The last paragraph says this.
Yeah, this is powerful.
What is true of France is true to a degree, in many other countries.
Right.
And the way things are going,
Yep.
the similarity looks set to increase.
Mm-hmm.
Catholic leaders seem concerned to create the impression that to be associated with the church is not only to be linked with clerical sex abuse, but to risk life and limb in some atrocity that will cost pastors and society at large no more than a shrug. Their message about the dignity of Catholic churches and the lives of Catholics turns out to be the same as terrorists. Terry, here's a twofold strategy that went on.
Yes.
The liberals first they knew they had to undermine the moral credibility because the Catholic Church was a moral powerhouse.
That's right.
For many centuries.
Yep.
The church spoke, and I mean, the earth just shook.
Yep.
It was thunderous when there was papal proclamations and which church took a position. It was an earthquake throughout the world. They had to weaken the church by infiltrating it with homosexuals and sexual degenerates. Okay, so now the church has lost her moral authority in the eyes of the average person. They say, "Man, shut up! I don't want to hear from you, you bunch of perverts." Yep. So they've undermined the church's moral authority by infiltrating it with sexual degenerates, and so now phase two. Now they're physically attacking the church, and they know, hey, everybody thinks that the Catholic Church is just a morally, sexually degenerate institution, so nobody's going to care. Governments, mainstream media, law enforcement, heck, even Catholics or bishops, they don't care. So it was a twofold strategy. If they would have just started attacking Catholic churches like 60, 70 years ago, there would have been such a... The pitchforks and the torches would have come out, Terry, and there would have been fights on the street.
They would have been put down too, Jesse. They would have lost.
Catholics would have put...
Oh, yeah.
But what they had to do, Terry, They had to weaken the moral authority of the Catholic Church.
That's right.
That way they've made the lay Catholic. They're saying, I can care less. They shrug their shoulders. I'd rather watch a football game than go get involved in that. There's a bunch of sexual degenerates in that church anyhow. It was a twofold strategy to accomplish what they're doing right now.
Jesse, the last thing I want to say is turning the other cheek. Matthew chapter 5, verse 39 is about giving up the church's holy. It's not about giving up. Thank you. It's not about giving up the church's holiest possessions to be abused and profaned, right? That's called casting pearls before swine, and it is something we are not told to do. Now, still less in Matthew 7:6, still less is it about exposing the weakest of our brothers in Christ to attacks on their faith, even on their lives. That's called scandalizing the least of these, which Christ warns us will be punished by God, Matthew 18:16. It is rather about not making our pride our guide in seeking revenge. That's very important. It's about time, I want the bishops, please, to admit that they've made some mistakes and start protesting about the victimization of those under their charge. It's time to speak up, but just our real big solution as lay people, we can pray, we can make sacrifices, we can live holy lives. How do we do that, Jess?
Yeah, everybody got to start bumping up their prayer life as Catholics, especially right before the elections.
Yep.
I take 100 guys every Wednesday. We walk around the streets of my neighborhood. We pray the rosary. And we're out in public. Nobody's wearing a mask. I don't put on a mask. We're praying in public, okay?
Yeah.
And we're just walk around for blocks and blocks.
Awesome.
People are looking at us. On Sunday nights, I lead a bunch of married couples on Sunday nights at the parish. Father gave me the keys, and we do what's called the Patriotic Rosary. Thursdays, I'm going out to these blue lives and praying out there with a bunch of Protestants, singing a bunch of hymns. You know, Battle Hymn of the Republic, God Bless America.
Good.
We have to bump up our prayer life because I'll make it simple.
Yeah.
God has given us a bunch of magazines with bullets in the magazines.
Yep.
Okay. Think about an AR-15. It holds a 30-round clip.
Yep.
You've got a bunch of these magazines. Every time you pray, you're firing off a bullet into the air, and you're driving back the kingdom of darkness. When you die, I hope you give God hundreds of empty 30-round magazines. Say, Lord, you gave me a garage full of magazines that were fully loaded. I fired them all off. They're called prayers. Here they are, Lord. I emptied all my magazines. Don't die and get in the presence of God with fully loaded magazines, which are the prayers that you are supposed to discharge and project upon the culture of death.
Well said, Jess. And so we have the 5 stones of King David. We need to pray, right? We're going to go to Mass as often as possible, Eucharistic adoration, get to the sacrament of confession, read your Bible, which we just did at the beginning of the show. Remember sacrifices. Jess always likes to talk about Wednesdays and Fridays. Hey, Our Lady said it at Fatima, souls are going to hell because no one is there to pray and make sacrifices. Boy, do we need to pray for our leaders in our church, for our family, for the whole world. That's your part, Grandma. That's your part, little 5-year-old son listening to this show. Jesse Romero, what state should we be living in, brother?
Not in the state of confusion, not in the state of anarchy, not in the state of mortal sin, but in the state of grace. Get holy or die trying. And make sure that before you die, as they say in baseball and football, leave it all out in the field.
You got it. Up next, Dr. Ed Mazza, our historian. Oh, boy, you're going to enjoy that show. And don't forget to go to our website, Virgin Most Powerful Radio, to talk about the Ultimate Challenge, which is a great debate coming up September 12th. Father Benedict Rochelle, Scott Hahn, Father Mitch Pacwa, big heavy hitters. And Jess Romero is going to have a show talking about how apologetics converted him back to the Catholic faith. It's going to be a great debate the 12th of September. Up next, Dr. Ed. God bless you.
Saint Faustina's Prayer for Priests. O my Jesus, I beg thee on behalf of the whole Church, grant it love and the light of thy Spirit, and give power to the words of priests, so that hardened hearts might be brought to repentance and return to thee, O Lord. Lord, give us holy priests. Thou thyself maintain them in holiness. O divine and great High Priest, may the power of thy mercy accompany them everywhere, and protect them from the devil's traps and snares, which are continually being set for the souls of priests. May the power of thy mercy, O Lord, shatter and bring to naught all that might tarnish the sanctity of priests. For thou canst do all things. Amen. Virgin most powerful, pray for us.